Thank you so much for staying with us, Professor Killer, and thank you for joining us, Mr. Dennis Amakri. All right, so let me come back to you, Professor Killer, before we lost you earlier. How do you think President Buhari's administration could have better addressed some of the issues like corruption, insecurity, and bad governance that you actually mentioned?
Well, I think it must be said that there are two issues with governance. One is the form and one is the substance. I think in terms of the form, Buhari's greatest strength also became his weakness as head of state between 2015 to 2023. And what I mean is that he was elected as a charismatic, popular, anti-establishment, simple, non-corruptible, not corrupting leader. But unfortunately, when he got to power, he came across as aloof. He wasn't the people's president anymore. He wasn't the president that would speak to the press or move amongst the people or, do some banter. He became, too institutionalized. That I think that's the word, very institutionalized. He became insular. And that could be for various reasons. That was a problem. The other issue in terms of substance of governance was that, whether you like or loathe him, fact is, he did not deliver on the big promises. I'm sure he did his best to fight insecurity, but we're still grappling with it. I'm sure he did the best on corruption, but guess what? Nobody has used his administration as a case study on how to deal with corruption. If anything, and Nigerians don't realize it, outside Nigeria, people use the EFCC created by Obasanjo as a case study in corruption. Those who do international comparative developmental studies, we know that. And this has not happened under his regime. And I say this not because there's not enough time, because he started using Obasanjo whilst he was in office, as an example across the world, and he wasn't perfect either. The corruption thing was thought to be the answer to the economic problem. The economic did not get better under him. If everything he got worse. I say all these things, because the question is, what could he have done differently? Those are what he has done wrong. So he could have communicated better, related better, and he could have deployed different kind of policies in terms of fighting insecurity, corruption, and the economy as a whole. But that said, I insist, he's still a man of, achievements. Sold out on general, politician on president. One of the few people that most people can say he's not corrupt. Those are not little achievements, the big one. I just think that somehow partisan politics, governance diminished the magic. It waned out the charisma. But, I think if Buhari did not rule Nigeria from 2015 to 2019, he would be remembered today as the best president Nigeria did not have. And I say this as somebody who, before he was elected, campaigned vigorously for him, using my personal time, money, intellect, and other resources to ensure he wins the election. But we tasted the pudding and it did not meet the advert, as it were. It wasn't as advertised. There's a bit of regret there, but there's still a lot of lesson. Whether we praise him or loathe him, if we're honest and we want to be useful to others, his life should be a lesson. The essence of history is to learn the past, to use it to deal with the present, and to shape the future. I think that's the way to look at it, okay. Not a debate.
All right, now let's come back. Let's come to you, Mr. Amakri. Now, you've heard what Professor Killer had to say, and earlier we had Hawa Mustafa, a development activist, who described the former president she said he has good intentions that did not see the light of day. She also said that he was neither a messiah nor the devil, and that he had a spirit of wanting to do good, but it wasn't nationalistic. Let's have your thoughts on, you know, how you will describe the former president.
Thank you very much. I was listening to Professor Kila, and I think I agree with him generally. The specifics are, you know, what I would want to discuss here. And, you know, I went into the Nigerian Security Service during Muhammadu Buhari's time. In fact, he recruited us. That was in 1984. And, you know, when he came to power, Nigeria was at the precipice of corruption. You know, there were all kinds of things going on. People were rushing into buses. It was like a zoo, you know. And to be very sincere with you, that was when I returned back from the United States. And the situation of the country was, in fact, not very, very conducive for anybody. Then on the 31st of December, some military officers took over the government and invited him. That's what many people don't know. Some people will say that he led the coup. He didn't. You know, they invited him to lead them. And the major reason was that this was an officer. After they'd taken over the government, they were looking for somebody, you know, who can, you know, lead them. Somebody who is upright and who they think can do it. And of course, the mantle rested on General Muhammadu Buhari. And when he came in, everybody knows it was real hot. A lot of politicians ran out of the country. They were so corrupt as they are today, because that was, you know, his legacy actually was when he came down there, and a lot of the politicians were scared.
Yeah.
A lot of them ran away. A lot of them were arrested. And judgments in courts, many of them received 100 years in jail, 50 years in jail. And then, of course, it was that bad that he couldn't handle the security situation properly. And he decided that he's going to massively recruit people into the security and intelligence services. And that was when we came in, you know, and we were, at the time, I think we were almost about 100, a little bit above 100 that were recruited into the Nigerian Security Organization.
I think I remember, you know, a time where, you know, so many politicians ran away, you know, on the announcement of former President Buhari as a president. But what do you think went wrong afterwards? What happened?
Well, what happened was that in Nigeria, when they say draconian, that was real draconian military rule, because nobody was spared. You know, nobody was spared. In fact, you heard about the suitcases. Is it 53 or so suitcases that were bringing money into the country, and that was there. And we have people like Atiku Abubakar, who was head of the airport at that time. And why was very, very rife, because we have war against indiscipline. In fact, it came to a level where, without anybody looking at you, you dare not go and urinate or defecate.
Mr. Amakri, would actually have to, apologies, would actually have to pause you here. We'll come back to you, please.
All right, some military.
Okay, so that was, or that is the parade procession, funeral procession ongoing at the Katsina airport at the moment. I remember, if you're just joining us, we are live at Katsina, where the remains of the former President Muhammadu Buhari has arrived and is on his way to the hometown, and also the residence of the former president for final interment.
All right, activities.
Activities of the president, the funeral of the former president will begin very, very soon. But before then, we'll bring that to you. But then before then, we still have our guests, Professor Kila and Mr. Amakri, with us to speak on the former president and his administration. Apologies for cutting you or for disrupting your chain of thought, Mr. Amakri, earlier. You were talking about the former president, his administration. But what about when it comes to security-wise? How would you say that the former administration has actually fared? We will come back to you, Professor Kila, on that as well. Go ahead, Mr. Amakri.
Okay, thank you very much. Like I told you, he had a lot of, his agenda was very big. His agenda for security was big because he discovered that he needed a lot of boots on the ground, so to say, and serious intelligence, you know, to carry out the war against corruption and the war against indiscipline that he was, you know, out there to achieve. So a lot of people were recruited into the intelligence service. And then, of course, if you remember, I don't know if you do, but at that time, in fact, everybody fell in line. Everybody fell in line. You know, armed robbery, all kinds of criminal activities all went down zero. You know, like I said, politicians, you know, the corruption level was so high and it was brought down to zero. You know, so I think security-wise, he achieved a lot. And during that first term, when he was overthrown, I was actually working in Daura barracks when it happened. And when he was overthrown and he went back home, and when he wanted to come back into politics, I was very apprehensive because I don't think that military fiat with which he was successfully running Nigeria would do the same thing for him in a democratic setting. So I think that's where it went off on a tangent.
Okay, so now let's hear from you as well, Professor Kila. They've actually spoken about his fight against corruption and his anti-corruption campaign, and you also noted that many Nigerians saw President Buhari as a symbol of fight against corruption, insecurity, and bad governance. Now, what role do you think that this perception played in shaping public opinion about his administration?
And a minute to talk about Dennis and Macri. We wait for some people to die, we will talk about them. But you can see the detailed security man who's very prudent. He's choosing every word, he's using very carefully. But you can see he's very knowledgeable of this thing, and kudos to him. I thought he wasn't going to mention that was in Dodan Barrack, but we remember him then, and we knew he was there. Greetings to Director, and as usual, all respect. I think the perception of President Muhammadu Buhari, or the candidate that became president, is part of what is making judgment on him so harsh. He wasn't a miracle worker, but he was perceived as a miracle worker, and he did not really do a lot to not make people believe he was a miracle worker. There were thoughts that once he gets there, he would just all of a sudden pull off his barbaric and under it come the military thing, and he would lead the war against insecurity and he would defeat insecurity. That did not happen. The idea was that once he got into power, just because his face was the one inside public offices, corruption would disappear. I want people to remember that a few months after Buhari became president in 2015, electricity was actually stable. And there were jokes on the internet of people seeing bottled water and other items freeze or even break in the freezer because power was stable. And it was said that it was a Buhari touch. I was one of the people that encouraged some things and enjoyed it, I must say. So, mea culpa as well. But, with time, with all that great expectation and little delivery compared to expectation, I say this knowing that he did some things. It's not that he didn't do anything. He did a single, the state single account bill, I think the TSA is called. The rail project was under him. He didn't do something. It's just that the expectations were so high and the delivery so modest or moderate. I rather think modest, as a matter of fact. And therein lies the rub of where we have a problem. I don't think anybody will stand up and say it's the best head of state we ever had. It will be said that there was one head of state that people thought about non-corruption. The simple life that is mentioned is a fact. But, my little children are also not prone to corruption or grabbing houses or land, but that doesn't mean that they can solve the economy of the country. If you take a baby born today, that baby certainly is not corrupt, but that doesn't mean that they can solve the problem of unemployment, inflation, creation of wealth, position in the world. What this tells us is that it's not about the man that is gone. That man has led his life. His age is not too young. I mean, he could live a lot more. I wish he lived more for his family and for other people. But he's led his life to fulfillment. He's got to the peak of his career. It's not about him. It's about the rest of us. And moving forward, when next we're going to choose somebody, when next we're going to evaluate somebody, let us think it through and let us not be carried away by emotions. And we should ask tougher and clearer questions. The kind of questions director there will ask if he was interrogating you. Maybe we should get the security service to drill candidates when they come forward. Will you take up that role, director?
Director, he has a question for you. All right, we cannot seem to hear Mr. Amakri, but I'm sure he
I think
will.
he's doing it on purpose. Insist.
Can you hear me now? Yes, please, can you repeat your question? Thank you, Killer.
Would you be available to interrogate future politicians or before they get into? I know your technique.
In fact, yes, you know, one thing. That's one another aspect that from Professor Killer's question I want to bring to light here is that the security agencies have always been there and they've always done their job. They will do their job to the best, But you see, any government that comes, because right now, in fact, we are talking about the demise of General Muhammadu Buhari. Mm-hmm. Now, when he was in office and was overthrown, the security agency became the dragon that they have to kill. It was one that everybody was, NSO was, an organization, a demonic organization, and, they have to deal with it. And all the detention centers were opened and all the corrupt politicians that were detained there were let go. And people were happy because they felt that, even the discipline was too much. I remember people were coming out and throwing things out on the streets, their garbage out on the streets. Oh, no more war against indiscipline. So, they threw their garbage right in front of their houses. Mm. Now, that tells you the mindset of what was going on. And now, he did that, and when General Ibrahim Babangida came in there, he reorganized the NSO. And not quite 1 year after that, he started, in fact, he used the SSS more than Buhari used the NSO. So that's what I'm telling you. The security organization will do their job, but they will be the whipping boy, but give it, plus or minus, they will do their job because that's what they are trained to do. Hmm. So I think I answered Killer's, Professor Killer's
I think I also have a question to ask you on that, but then we have to connect with our correspondent, Jamil Mabe, who is live at the residence of the former President Muhammadu Buhari in Katsina State in Daura. Jamil, if you can hear me, thank you for joining. And could you give us an update on the activities of the funeral?
Okay, left the residence of the late President Muhammadu Buhari. Right now, I'm at the the prayer ground where we're expecting any moment from now the motorcade or the convoy of the president body will arrive here soon. And if you can have a glance at massive crowd over there. We have over more than 20 governors here in Katsina. We have the governor of Maiduguri, the governor of Borno State, the governor of Gombe, the governor of Kaduna, the governor of Kano, and a lot of governors are here. We have a lot of traditional rulers are also here. We have foreign dignitaries who are also here. The president of Guinea-Bissau, the prime minister of the Republic, and one other president who is here, including President Bola Tinubu, who is accompanying the body of the late President Muhammadu Buhari, together with Dr. Daura to this town. And once they arrive there, they are coming directly into the playing ground here, where the central Daura Imam will lead the prayers. Then from here, the body will be carried back to his residence, where he will be buried there, and there will be a lot of, I know players, from different
Your connection
people
in
going
general,
to the grid
Jamil.
to
We
offer
will
them.
try to reconnect with you. We seem to be having, an issue with your connection. Now, we still have our guests, Professor Killa and Dennis Makri, with us. Now, Dennis, I actually did say that I had a question for you, and you talked about, security agencies, doing their best during the former president's administration. Now, I would love for you to speak on some of the successes, that's the EFCC's successes, and also the efforts that they played, the role that they played in the former president's administration. Hello, sir. Can you unmute your mic?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I still refer to his first time in terms of when he was a military head of state. And at that time, I think he did fantastically well when it comes to security, when it comes to financial crimes, when it comes to other, behavioral, attitude of Nigerians, in Nigeria. And I think everybody was very, very happy and looked forward to him. Although there are criminals who will not be happy about Buhari at that time. And of course, he was overthrown. And of course, majorly, many people don't know that the reason why he came back, was because, of course, on his own part, he has been trying to come back. He's been running because I believe that he was cut short from his agenda. He had an agenda for Nigeria, and they will not allow him to finish it. And the IBB coup came in and cut him short. So apparently, he wanted to go back in there and finish it up. So during his term as democratically elected president, I think the reason why in fact, Nigerians voted for him was because of this same reason. Because they see him as a very upright, disciplined general who does not take nonsense. And then, of course, if he comes in, he's going to clear. Because, like I said, as soon as he left, the rot came back to Nigeria again. The rot came back to Nigeria. The corruption, the stealing, and everything came back at a very high level. And he came back. They believe that when he comes back, he's going to clean it again. But unfortunately, when he came back, I think he aggravated it, because then we know that it was during his comeback that we had the introduction of the bandits into Nigerian criminal scene. So that's a different story altogether. But that. I think his integrity was very high, and I think Nigerians were very happy to vote him back again as a civilian president.
Okay, now Professor Killa, you did mention that many present and future leaders should learn from President Buhari's life and also focus on building a legacy where those who gave them fulfillment will feel fulfilled by their lives. Now, what specific lessons do you think that leaders can draw from his experience?
I think it's important for leaders to realize one very important sociological mutation that is going on in the world. Before now, when leaders died, in fact, when anybody died, the most people will say is just, well, may God forgive him all his sins, and then move on, because it was sacred. It was considered sacred not to speak ill of the dead. There's a new generation in the world now that hasn't got that kind of, I would not call it respect for the dead, but that kind of obligation to keep quiet about their experience. It tells you now that there's a new generation who are less deferential to age, life, and death. So therefore, leaders should be careful when they're in power to learn to understand what is expected of them and to find the vision, the vigor, and the vessel to achieve what their mandate is, whatever that mandate is. Because there's a new world that will ask questions. Don't forget that most of the people that were 40 years ago, 20 years ago, led most of their life under the military rule. Whereas most of the people that are 25 years today led most of their life under the civilian administration, and they have a mindset that they can say whatever they feel. So that difference is waning, and you can't get it back, especially with technology and the internet. The desire to compare and to judge leadership and to express one's view makes leadership more prone to scrutiny. So anybody who gets power from the local government council level to the presidency, to the people nominated, appointed, or selected for any role, they should understand that they would have more scrutiny to face, and they have to be, more focused. There's a simple formula that can be used. I've written about in some of my essay. I call it the CAT method. They need to be mindful that there will be consequence, there should be accountability, and there should be transparency in whatever they do. And of all the many things they can adopt, if they adopt that method, I am sure they can go a long way.
Well, Professor Kilai also did state that, the battle has not been won, but in the fight against corruption, insecurity, and also bad governance, are there strategies that you would propose for future administrations to tackle these issues more effectively?
Insecurity. But one of the first things that a future administration, or starting from the president's administration, should do is to realize how crucial a matter like insecurity is in our life. To understand that a state that cannot secure the lives and property of its people is a failed, or at least a failing state. The essence of a state is the ability to deploy legitimate and superior force. And a state that cannot do that is a failing state. So we have to take it serious. I believe we have to, in my view, my strongly held, personally, but highly deliberated and strongly held view, is that we need to declare those people who are trying to kidnap us, blow us up, kill us in our place of worship as enemies of the state, very seriously. A lot of people talk about, deal with unemployment, educate the people. I agree with that, but I also agree that we should be very brutal, very ferocious against those who are making life unbearable for us. And to that extent, my view is that we need to fight security in a way that we set up our mind that those who try to harm us should feel afraid and unsafe. That's a crucial thing. Then to do that, we need a good design of what we want to achieve. Then we need the right people who can do it. We need to fund them, give them the right equipment, but we also need to scrutinize them step by step to see if they're achieving. And if they're not achieving, rather than promote them to become ambassadors, we should sack them or move them from that role. So that is consequence, accountability, and transparency in play. I also believe in terms of our economy, this administration and future administrations need to understand that the role of government is to ensure the creation of job and wealth in terms of economics. And then we need to find a vision to do that, that allows our potential to become reality. Understanding our weakness, trying to help it, understanding our strength, and trying to enhance it. We need to create a country that can produce and generate rather than fight over what we have. But those are the kind of things. Let me stop by just saying one thing, because you want the solution. You seem to be a solution finder. So the solution is moving forward, we also need to decentralize, digitalize, and devolve a lot of our powers. We need to decentralize our structure, digitalize our process, and devolve our centers of power. So those are the kind of things that can allow us to be growing, competitive in the modern society where we are today.
All right, now let's hear from Mr. Makri as well. Do you agree with all that Professor Kila has said? Do you have anything to add to some of the solutions that the present and future administrations, can actually bring to the fore when it comes to insecurity, corruption, and good governance?
Yeah, thank you very much. I totally agree with Professor Kila, because it was actually re-echoing things I've been saying about the security sector. He's talking about general, but I am going to zero in on the security sector because when you look at it, the problem we have today, especially with the security infrastructure that we have today, the police itself, the DSS and other security agencies, even the military, all of them report to the president. Yes, he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, but the point is that some of these agencies should be allowed independence. Independence, like the DSS, for instance, to go ahead and pursue the national objective or the national interest. Because when you look at the instrument that created the DSS, for instance, the Security Services Act, you will see that all of them are there are clauses there that says that they should report into the president. So they become a department of the presidency, and that is very hindering, because if there is independence and the president, being a human being, can commit crimes, we've seen it, even in foreign countries, even in the United States, where, for instance, President Nixon was removed from office, or he resigned from office because he was scared that the FBI was going to arrest him in the next 1 hour if he does not resign. And that's how it is. There should be nobody above the law. But in Nigeria, the way our security is designed, they're above the law. And then, of course, the presidency or the people in government, the governors, are using the security agencies or even the police. That's why we don't even have a state police today. We don't have it yet because we've been crying about state police for years now. Many people are saying, no, we can't have them. Oh, state cannot fund them. Oh, governors are going to use it against their opponents. But that's not the point. They are created by law to carry out legal, enforcement of certain crimes that will happen, be they federal crime, state crime, or local government edicts they are going to protect. So it is good that they leave the security agencies to operate. But when you muscle the security agencies, and then of course you tell them what to do because you are the commander-in-chief, whether what you are saying is right or wrong or is bad or good for the country, then we have a problem there. And security cannot flourish. You cannot have a lot of good inroads in fighting, insurgency or, bandits or all kinds of people. Like I said earlier, bandits are just a problem we invited onto ourselves. And the security agencies, if they are independent, could go there and deal with them right away. But there are stops and, gaps that the security agencies have to dance around.
Okay. Now, let's take live pictures now from the hometown of the former president, the late former President Muhammadu Buhari. You can see there's a crowd waiting for his body to arrive, especially at the burial ground, at the cemetery, so that he can be buried. We already have our correspondent, Jamil Mabai, who is there, but due to connectivity issues, we have not been able to get clear pictures or even audio on what is actually happening there at the cemetery. But we could actually, we know for sure that there are dignitaries the president of Nigeria, that's President Bola Tinubu, is in town, is in Katsina, is in Daura for the burial, for the funeral. We also have the Vice President Kashim Shettima, who has already arrived. We can see emirs, some emirs have arrived as well, and also friends, family members. The governor of Kogi State, we're seeing the governor of Kogi State, Usman Ododo, and the former governor as well, Yahaya Bello. We did see the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar. We saw Ali Ndume. We have former governor of Borno State. We have so many of them who have arrived. Former governor of Zamfara State as well. We're seeing dignitaries, emirs. So many of them arrived at the residence of the former president, that's Muhammadu Buhari, to bid their farewell before he is buried and put to the ground. Before we go ahead, we'd love to thank Professor Anthony Killer, a political analyst who joined us, to speak on the death of the former president. But we still have security expert Dennis Amakri still with us to give us a little more of his time. Mr. Amakri, now can you speak to us on how you think that the Nigerian people can hold future leaders accountable for their promises, and also ensure that they prioritize building a legacy that benefits citizens?
Thank you very much. And yes, I think this is important. The problem of Nigeria, looking from the telescope of security, is that of leadership. The problem is that of leadership. And of course, Buhari is a very, very good example. Buhari is a very, very good example. I think many people should learn from him, because when he first came in as a military head of state, he was in there to clean the Augean stable, just like they say. And of course, he did a good job at that time until it was cut short. And what did he do? He tried to bring sanity to governance, where politicians should learn, even when they ran away. Some of them that ran away, there were attempts to bring them back. You know about the great issue in the UK. So it is not. I was thinking that what Buhari did in his first time in government will give many politicians a lesson to learn, so that they don't, misbehave, so to say. But the more we are going into the democratic system, the more the situation gets worse. And I think today, people should look at him, not as a villain, but as a hero, of somebody who meant well for Nigeria, and came in to do the best. But of course, he was corrupted when he went into politics. And politics being a corrupting factor should be looked at very properly. And like Professor Killer was saying, let the security agencies do their job. Before you come into politics, let the security agencies vet you. They should check you out properly, and the results should be used in allowing you to run for office. Because here we've had situation where people say, oh, he's a member of our party, let's allow him. He just decamped to us, let's allow him, without really digging deep into their backgrounds. I think if politicians know that coming into government is a service and not where to get rich, then I think we must have learned something from President Muhammadu Buhari.
All right, now let's hear from Professor Kila. I'm told he has joined us. We thought we lost you there, Professor. Please go ahead and share with us your thoughts on how you think Nigerians should hold future leaders accountable.
Well, I think they should follow Dennis Amakri's advice. It's as simple as that. They should just see what we say. And whilst we're at it, can I formally in public TV in front of millions of people offer Dennis Amakri a position as a visiting lecturer at the Commonwealth Institute on governance and leadership because of his very clear understanding of the issue? Since we are in public, you have to accept it, Director. I think moving forward, people need to understand that leaders are human. They might have flaws. They might have limitations. So we have to reduce our expectation from them and increase our quest for accountability. There is no strong man that is angelic or Superman enough to solve our problem. What we need to look at are issues, capability, resistance, and honesty, and vision to get things done. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much for that. I think we will soon be taking your final thoughts. But let's start with you, Professor Kila. It seems you have somewhere to be at the moment. Just if you have anything final to say.
I write a formal letter of invitation to Director Makri to become an advisor on governance, security, and leadership issues. That is what I'm rushing to say. But I'd like to leave, for people to know that wherever we are in life, whether it's in security, agriculture, medicine, or broadcasting, or carpentry, it is important to lead our life in the way that when we pass on or when we are there, those who talk about us will not have to struggle or will not have to lie. President Buhari is a man of many things. He could have been a lot more. One thing that a lot of people have been saying that I've not said, which because I knew him personally, was how witty he was. He didn't come across as a man that had a great sense of humor. I think it should be said about him that he could understand jokes and he could crack some jokes as well. That should be remembered of him as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Kila. Let's have your final thoughts as well, Mr. Amakri.
Thank you very much, Professor Kila. It will be an honor to be in that institute to talk. I've been talking to several institutes myself, and I think that's something. Nigerians need education. We need to know. I think most of the problem we're having is out of ignorance because people don't know. And if they don't know, sometimes they make the mistakes, innocently. So I think the more we can open up ideas to people, I think it will be better for the country. But as a final thought, I think there are people who don't think much about Muhammadu Buhari because of his last term in office, but I know him in both sides because I was with him in Dodon Barracks, with General Diagbon. And then, of course, I come to know about him also during the civilian democratic setting where he became president. And I can evaluate him. I can really evaluate him and know exactly. I know where he fell off the cliff. But the lesson remains that this is one Nigerian that we have to learn from, the good and the bad, and I think it will do Nigeria a great service. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mr. Amakri, as well, for your time.